here. Sorry, here, where yeah, it just makes all that difference, that one move, and it gives white a lot of attacking opportunities. Instead, you played d3, which I wasn't so convinced by. Do you want? What's the rationale there?
Yeah, I guess I was trying to limit that bishop, and I didn't want to. I didn't want to push my bishop onto d3 and immediately attack his bishop, because I just didn't want to end up with doubled pawns at this point on the d file. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I should have gone d4, but and I did regret this because it just made everything really clunky in the next few. Probably 10 moves of the game, so I spent a lot of the time then regretting it, because I would naturally want to, well, I mean, there's things I do that stop it, but I would naturally want to castle on the king's side, but I think because of a couple of decisions I made along the way here, I ended up castling on the queen's side, and I'm not a long castler usually, and so I was just completely out of my depth when it came to him knowing what to do to sort of cause me problems.
Yeah. It's not a bad move, it's just this bishop's going to get a bit sad, that's all, but it's okay. Right, so let's go through, and then yeah, queen e2 just compounds things a bit. There's nothing wrong with just bringing the bishop to e2 instead, and then castling on the king side. That would have been fine, and then the rook could just come to e1 and start doing things up the open e file. You want to be putting your rooks on files where you don't have pawns, essentially. And that one for you is the e file. So yeah, so h6, bishop h4, e6, and yeah, you get this structure quite a lot where all of these, whoops, not that one, all of these pieces look at the square d5, and yeah, that's always gonna be the most important square in the Caro-Kann for black to control. So yeah, you just get these little.
Why is that the case?
Why is it the case? Well, straight away, move one. That's the idea here. You get these openings where, if white, assuming white plays e4, I mean, we can look at d4 as well, but black is the one who really gets to choose which of the color complexes in the middle that either side controls. So if black plays e5, then they're making a claim here for the dark squares, whereas white is on the light squares. But moves like d5, knight f6, the French, Caro-Kann, all of these make a play to challenge this pawn instead and do more things on the light squares. It's not completely rigid like that. For example, the Sicilian looks like it's doing things on the dark squares, but actually, because neither of these pawns have moved, it's still a bit undecided, and black can play either of these one square and play differently. Black can still play for d5 in the Sicilian, essentially. So yeah, just on move one already, we've got things happening on d5, and then the play that follows it just balances that out with us. So that's what we get here. So castles, yeah, I mean, all of your pieces, just the weight of numbers, all your pieces being on the queen side, on the king side here, means that an attack might be quite quick here for black, and so it proved. So yeah, it's just not very fun, the choices that you've got here.
Yep.
You chose a3.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time thinking about this move, but just because I didn't expect him to make the bishop sacrifice, I figured that this was maybe better, because I thought that he was maybe going to try and come in on the diagonal the queen's on into e1.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did consider b1, which is obviously I think the better move. But I've just sort of screwed myself over a little bit, I think, because I've got all of my attacking pieces over on the right, on the king side.
Yeah.
And yeah.
The problem is you're doing your opponent's job for them here. So after a3, all of these pawns are well, two-thirds of this wall of pawns that you've got in front of the king, which you want after you castled, just disappear in one fell swoop, and now you've got a bit of a problem. And also this c3 square here is now completely open for a knight to potentially come in, which would be awkward. Yeah, so king d2 is the right move. If king b1, then absolutely there's no squares for this king to move, and the knight is going to hop in, and if you don't do anything about it, that knight c3 would be mate, unfortunately. So king d2, having to escape in into the center isn't a great idea. We saw this a couple of weeks ago with the game we did in our first bonus things with Ding's game, where the king went on a little march on about move 20. You've managed to beat Mr. Ding this time, because this is move 13. So yeah, not the
He's
best.
not even the best at being the worst, is he? What a shame.
Yeah, you've marooned your king a bit here again, where none of these squares are available, and again knight d5 just looks very good to start aiming at this outpost. Instead, king e3 would have been bad because knight d5 would be a mate, but c3 was fairly playable here, and because don't forget,
I rejected that one just because you end up losing the pawn.
Yeah,
so.
but you're already a bishop for 2 pawns up, so it's just giving basically black a third pawn for the piece. But after all this happens, you get to try and swap queens here, and your pieces start to make a bit more sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, after king c1, instead black just started throwing the pawn down the board, which isn't actually the best move, but it's completely understandable. That is trying to make a queen. If it did, that would be checkmate in this position. But yeah, you did the right thing here of trying to swap queens. That's great. That's what we want. We want to, yeah, we want to be swapping the queens off here because that's black's most dangerous piece. And it means that because you've got an extra piece, swapping pieces generally will make sense. Swapping pieces makes sense when you're ahead or when you're defending, because it just takes away a lot of your opponent's sort of apparatus for attacking. But then the queen dropping back here is not a good idea at all. But your next move, because look at all these pieces that are still on the king side and still doing nothing. This isn't ideal. But never mind. King d2, yeah, I just don't understand.
Yeah, my thinking was that I could get like the rook and it was the quickest way of getting big pieces over there for me. I don't know, and connected rather than just flinging one over there.
I suppose. But yeah, there's no check. It's an opportunity here. Queen b6, there's no check next move. There's no safe check, so it gives you a chance to play something like knight e5, which is a fork. So definitely going to be some pieces coming off here. And also just simple, this is almost like a counter-attack actually, because the black king is still in the center. They haven't castled. If you can remove some pieces from the center, then you'll have a chance to do some good stuff. Okay. Yeah, black started coming after you on this side of the board, which didn't make much sense to me given all of your pieces are there. But hey, never mind. Swaps happen. Swaps. We like swaps. More swaps. Yes. And then again, Queen e3 isn't as good as Queen d4, because Queen d4 would still cover the b4 square where there's a check available. But I'm splitting hairs a bit here. Queen e3 still is perfectly decent. It does offer a queen swap. Queen b4, King e2. Okay, these pieces are in real trouble, but you still do have 3 fairly active ones in the queen, the rook and the knight, so this isn't a disaster, but black's pawns do look like they're going to be quite quick. So let's run through this bit. Now this bit I found quite entertaining, because I'm just going to, so let's just run through what happens here. Your queen just goes on this magical mystery and ends up on d4. Let's go back to the position before you play Queen b6, right? Okay, so look what's happened here. I'm just going to fast forward. This is 5 moves. All that's happened is that you've moved this pawn and then your queen 4 times. Meanwhile, black has got castled and they've made some progress with these pieces. So yeah, your queen has effectively taken 4 moves
I chickened out
to do
basically.
that.
I was going to be threatening, and then I was like, no, you know what? This is a terrible idea. I've got to get I've got to get back to where I was.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Never mind. Never mind. Okay. So
But
yeah.
he castled. He castled,
Hmm.
but he literally moved. The only thing he achieved was connecting his 2 rooks, right?
Yeah, but you just wasted a tempo. This pawn also made it to a4, right?
Also, didn't consider the fact that he could castle, which makes that whole move look a lot less impressive, and
Okay.
that's why I retreated. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
basic things.
Yeah, but now look, Black's got 4 very active pieces. One extremely active pawn,
Yeah.
but yeah, you've still got a chance here. Weirdly, this, well, this
This
is
was a good
it.
move.
But yeah, but you're still a piece up. I mean, forget the
Yeah.
3 pawn, forget the it's 2 pawns now. For it, you're still ahead here, in theory. But yeah, Black took this off, and now didn't play there. Black took this off, and yeah, the worst is over here. You're not going to get
Yeah.
mated at least, and your king probably actually belongs in the centre. So let's just keep going here. Now I like this decision. It may not have been deliberate, but I really like this decision where you play where you play bishop to g2 and let this knight come into c3. So the idea with exchange sacrifices, where you're sacrificing a rook for a minor piece, is that you should be doing it if that minor piece is particularly dangerous, or if your rook is simply just not a very good piece in general. And actually what's happened here, after bishop g2, Black didn't play knight c3, but if they had, then essentially what you've done is you swapped the rook that was doing absolutely nothing in the corner for a very, very good centralized knight.
Mm.
And here you've got 2 minor pieces for the rook. So you're still really a piece up here.
I missed the fork as well. I should have forked in this move, but
Yeah. But so what happened in fact was that you hoovered this off, and then you didn't miss the fork. It's more that you just let the I've just put my annotation here is just what you just let this bishop disappear.
that was just a mistake.
I mean, it's not just one; it's 2 pieces that are looking at it.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah. Okay. Never mind. You'd be 2 pieces up here and cruising without it. So yeah, rook takes bishop, and you're still doing very well here because you're still a piece up for 2 pawns, and you've got a very active knight. Your king is central as well, which is helpful. And the only open file for Black is the D file, and you have got that pretty well covered with the pawn itself actually doing stuff just by sitting there, and the knight is looking at these 2 squares. But we carry on, and then you let his pawn come all the way down. And I like this little maneuver where you're just going to open up the second rank by moving this pawn forward. That's quite nice. And then it happens. And yeah, this isn't so good, because every time a pawn moves forward, lines open. In this case, the 5th rank is going to open for that rook. So after e4, we just need to take this. It's a free pawn, it defends the knight, and there's nothing to worry about with any kind of swap here because you are miles ahead. So yeah, hoovering off this pawn, let the knight drop, and now we've got a very technical ending so this is saying that all rook and pawn endings are drawn. I think this one is still good for you, but you just need to take the pawn that's on offer, please, rather than doing what you did, which was starting to go after the king instead. Let's shore up our house before we actually do anything attacking. My annotation is just take 3 pawns in the end game when they're offered, please, and that's definitely going to be the case here. Same thing, it goes again. You've just played this, and now, oops, now the F2 pawn should have dropped as well, but your opponent missed that. Neither of you have played enormously well in this game. Not going to lie. Okay. King c2, b4, and you still got chances here, but I like this move, rook b8. Rooks are very good behind passed pawns because they can see all the way through them. When you start getting them in front, if you imagine a rook here, all it's doing is a defensive job, and it can't look diagonally at all for a king to come in and annoy it. So that's the difference between a rook and a queen. If you had a queen in front of the pawn, it actually does quite a good job. It blocks the pawn and also looks around it. But rooks, yeah, absolutely good stuff. Looking down through that pawn, x-raying all of these squares as well that the pawn would like to move to. Rook defends it, and then you came after it, which let the rook into d2. Better move here. I quite like rook b6. Just cuts off the king a bit. And you got to make black work for this, really. The problem you've got is that your king is this rook is dealing with your rook is dealing with the pawn quite well, but your king is completely cut off. It can't go to any of these squares, and it's because the rook is just controlling the d file. So you're going to have, and also the fact that the pawn looks at c3 means you can't even come to annoy the rook. So I imagine this is still completely winning for black, but it's because of your king's immobility. But it's not so easy, and a move like rook b6 would just make sure that they had to maybe make some weakening pawn moves, for example, to make some progress here. Instead, king b3 allows the rook in, and now you're in big trouble because these pawns are going to disappear, I suspect, quite quickly. So rook 6 pawn, rook 6 f2, h4, king f6, and then, yeah, swapping off rooks here, when you're swapping off any material when you're down, generally is bad. Swapping off the rooks in a position where your king is so far away is frankly a disaster. However, yeah, and you win the rook, and with it the game. So lots of things there to think about, but lots to do with. Big theme there was
we were short on time at the end. I hasten to add. That said, we still had 15 seconds per move, which is enough time to not make some of these terrible errors.
That's plenty. Big theme really was when to swap pieces and when not to.
Yeah.
There's a bit of opening theory we did there. But yeah, I think that was enough for you to be getting on with. We'll just see the rest of the game. You just mopped up with these pawns very tidily. Not so tidily. There we go. And yeah.
And then he